Awesome. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Cindy Nellis. I'm the director here at Penn West Clarion, and we welcome you to today's webinar on SBA Lending Basics and Lending Match. I want to get started with giving you a little bit of an intro of what this week is for us and why we planned today's event this week. So for more than 60 years, the U.S. Small Business Administration has celebrated National Small Business Week, which acknowledges the critical contributions of America's entrepreneurs and small business owners. This National Small Business Week is a time for us to officially recognize entrepreneurs and small business owners for their hard work, their ingenuity and dedication, including their contributions to our economy. Pennsylvania has aligned with the SBA to make this same week Pennsylvania's Small Business Week, and to celebrate, we want to mention a few facts today. Small businesses power Pennsylvania's economy, with over 1 million of them providing jobs for 2.6 million people. Over 13,500 small businesses here in Pennsylvania sold goods worth over $12 billion internationally in recent years. Small businesses are great for local economies as well. When you spend $100 at a small business, $48 goes back into the local economy. If you spend that same $100 at a big store, as we all know, only $14 stays local. So definitely a huge impact with small businesses. And finally, small businesses aren't just about money. They also make our communities special, giving each main street, downtown, and neighborhood a unique feel and identity. And so with that, we celebrate our small businesses this week. A couple of things before we get started. I do want to introduce you to the Pennsylvania Small Business Development Center Network. But before we do, I just want to let you know that we are recording. The slides for today's presentation were emailed out yesterday and just moments ago, so you should have that. The PowerPoint that you're seeing right now is mine, and I'll be sending this out after today's webinar, and I will be sending you a link to an evaluation for you to give us some of your your feedback on today's webinar. And then finally, as far as questions go, we would like for you to hold on to them until the end of today's webinar, and we will give you plenty of an opportunity to post your questions in our chat, and we'll be able to address them at the end. But first, Pennsylvania Small Business Development Center, we are a program with a mission to help small businesses start, grow, and prosper. And to us, a small business is a business that's primarily defined as businesses with less than 500 employees. So if you look around, that's probably the majority of your businesses all in your neighborhoods. So what do we do? The Small Business Development Center, we provide no-cost business consulting services, and we are able to work with any kind of business. It doesn't matter what kind. We spend a lot of time in planning, business planning, strategic planning, succession planning. We spend a lot of time providing information and resources related to market and industry research. We have a lot of great tools that we're able to provide to help our small business owners in their pursuit to start a business, and of course, to help those businesses grow. There's a lot of financial analysis that we do, helping businesses prepare to seek financing. And finally, of course, the broad topic of marketing is, how do I build awareness, build branding, and help to promote my business? So our services touch on all those areas. That was a very broad brush, but gives you an idea. We also spend some time with training, just like today. And so our training is primarily no cost. Some of it, there is a fee associated with it. We provide that training in person, virtual like today, as well as on demand. We do a lot of different types of training events. We tailor them to topics that address the needs of small businesses, as we go every year. So it's not always the same. But here are some examples of the types of training that we do. Of course, we do pre-venture planning, helping those looking to get started. But we also focus on all those topics that we just talked about, marketing, accounting, bookkeeping, that sort of thing. And so I give you a couple different websites. One is mine, but the other one is our statewide website that gives you a listing of all of the training being offered by SBDCs across the state. With that, our statewide network is made up of 15 centers, all located and hosted by institutions of higher education. Those institutions are investing in our program, and we thank them for that support. In addition, we're able to provide our assistance to you at no cost because of the primary support that we get from the Small Business Administration on a federal level and the Department of Community and Economic Development on a state level. So if you take a look, if you're in Pennsylvania, take a look at what county you're in and the SBDC institution where you can find services in your neighborhood. And so with that, I give you my contact information. Of course, there's no wrong door. If you have not connected with an SBDC, we encourage you to do so. You can always connect with me here at the Penn West Clarion Small Business Development Center, and I can get you connected with the SBDC in your neighborhood. Or certainly you can check out our statewide website, Pennsylvania SBDC or pasbdc.org, and find your SBDC contact information there. With that, I'm going to finish my PowerPoint and turn it over to Lynn Wozniak, who is the Lenders Relations Specialist with the US SBA Western Pennsylvania SBA office. So Lynn, we welcome you. We're glad that you're here, and I'll turn it over to you and you can share your screen.
All right. Well, thank you very much and welcome everyone this afternoon. And we'll spend a little time here going through everything. And thanks so much to Cindy and her group for hosting today at Penn West Clarion. I appreciate the time, and I'm going to dive into a little bit of the lending basics, and then we're going to spend quite a bit of time on the Lender Match platform because I want you to understand a little bit of what the lenders are looking for. And because Penn West Clarion gives such good guidance that when you're starting to work with them and develop your business plan, you're going to see how their services dovetail into you talking to a lender and putting your best foot forward. So to get started, my name is Lynn Wozniak. I'm the Lender Relations Specialist for the Western Pennsylvania District Office. These are the 27 counties that we cover. I'm going to provide information so that maybe, you know, if you're calling from a county that isn't served by Penn West Clarion, that's okay. You'll have enough information, just like Cindy's going to give her slides out, to be able to reach out, you know, to lenders in your own area. So you've already got the first check mark, right? You've already kind of reached out to Clarion and said, hey, look, you know, I think I'm interested in, I have a small business or I'm starting a small business. And we're going to talk a little bit about how talking to a lender, your business plan impacts that, and really being able to articulate, you know, the amount and the use of the funding that you're asking for will allow you to have a better overall conversation with your lender. So I cheated a little bit in my entire slide deck because it comes to you guys as a PDF. So you'll see this changes from an arrow to a hand. I usually try and put the hyperlinks across the top so that you're able to click and actually see. As of any websites, SBA updates things from time to time. So you might hit this link and the pictures may change. But we're going to talk about the 3 programs that SBA has for lending. SBA does not do any direct lending. You will either be working with a bank, a certified development company, or with a microloan lender, which is one of our intermediaries. So we're going to dive into this. So as I said previously, my hyperlinks here at the top are going to take you to even more detail, right? But things that you need to understand, and what I want you to be able to start to relate, is that when we talk the 7A program for the SBA, you're really talking about a bank lender, okay? Now, you may already be banking with one of our lenders, right? And you may have a relationship already with them. So anytime I talk about the 7A program, you're automatically thinking an actual bank that you're going to be working with, and your loan is with the bank. And just as much as the loan is with the bank, when you're repaying your loan in those monthly payments, both the principal and interest has to be paid out of the positive cash flow of the business. Okay, so if you're new to all of this and cash flow, things of that nature, you're in a great space because that's what Penn West Clarion does. It helps you understand and get prepared to talk to the lender. But this 7A program, this is our umbrella program. So it can be anything from purchasing furniture or equipment or supplies, or even, you may be actually purchasing a piece of real estate. That's how this program will work. Okay. The second program that we have is the 504 program. Now, the 504 program, that's administered by certified development companies. And so we have, I think, 4 in our area that serve, and they're different. They're a community-based partner, right? And they work within the communities. They may even have their own state funding. That's something else for you to discuss. And when I kind of wrap up at the end, I'll talk to you a little bit more about other things that you need to think about when you're looking for financing. But once again, those 504 loans are also repaid in monthly payments of principal and interest from the positive cash flow of the business. Now, this particular program, we're talking a little bit more about real estate or maybe large pieces of manufacturing equipment that are fixed to the ground. When we talk real estate, we're talking owner occupied. I'm not talking about investment properties. So if the structure exists, you as the borrower have to occupy at least 51% if the structure's already there. If it's brand new construction, you're building your own site, you have to at least occupy 60% or more. Okay. But one other thing to think about is that this can also be for improvements in modernization. Okay. So maybe you need an upgrade to your HVAC, right? This is another way for you to potentially get funding in a loan form for other things in the business. Maybe you already have the real estate, right? So 2 programs, but the one I want to spend a little bit more time on, and it's because it really walks hand in hand with our SBDCs, Penn West Clarion, or maybe if you're in a surrounding area, another one, is our microloan program. Now, these are overseen by intermediaries, okay? So they're a nonprofit organization that sometimes also gets some state money as well. And in this program, it's working capital or inventory, machinery, equipment, right? Smaller things at the $50,000 and under, all right? They're still going to be paying, right? Out of the monthly payment is principal and interest from the positive cash flow. It's not for any real estate purchase, and you can't pair this money as any of your money that you're inputting if you participate in 504 or 7A, okay? But the big kicker here, and the reason it's highlighted at the bottom, is because of the technical assistance. Our intermediaries are required to provide additional training before you get the loan, as you apply for the loan, and after you receive the loan. Okay, so think about it this way. You're working with Penn West Clarion, and maybe you're looking for a smaller dollar amount, and a microloan lender is a great place to start because it does allow you to obtain a little bit of capital and start to create that positive repayment history, right? So to make it a little easier, and I know Cindy and I talked a little bit about this. I tried to scan in. We had a resource guide from 2020, 2021 that was not in a PDF version. And I kind of scanned it in and it's a little too large, but I'll try and get her something that she can send out to all of you. This resource guide, our lenders, so the 7A program, they start on page 29. The way they're listed is by home office. So if for some reason my business was in Beaver County, it doesn't mean that I can only use the lenders that are listed in Beaver County. It just means that that's the local home office location. And if I'm in Armstrong County, but I want to talk to that bank, they may just refer me, out to the lender that's closest to me in Armstrong County. Our certified development companies start on page 32, and the microloan lenders are also listed on page 32. There is a national resource guide that you can take a look at. But more importantly, what I did is I actually took all of our lenders in the microloan side of things at that $50,000 and under, And I've given you the hyperlink that takes to their webpage. It talks about what counties they serve. They cannot stray beyond these counties. So if we're talking about your businesses in Clarion, Bridgeway Capital is one of the ones that you would start with. They serve Clarion County. Another one is Pursuit. They actually serve all of Pennsylvania. They're based out of New York. But this is, once again, another microloan lender at $50,000 and under. The other ones that I have listed in your deck, Jari, you can see they kind of cover the center of the state. Neighborhood only serves Allegheny County. And Washington County Council on Economic Development is kind of in that southwest corner. But the main reason everybody's here today is for that lender match. And there are over 800 lenders nationwide in this platform. They are all able to lend SBA products, right? And I met with both the developers, SBDCs, and the lenders to try and pull together an understanding of how you can use Lender Match to start to get prepared, even though you may not use this platform to find your lender, but to understand at least what the lenders are looking for you to talk about when they have a meeting with you. And if it's something that you want to do online, you can. You could even use this to get matched with lenders outside of the state and practice, right? Because everybody's going to ask questions. You're going to ask questions. So just think about that. So this platform itself only covers the 7A program, which is the actual bank lenders, the 504 lenders, which are the certified development companies, and our microloan lenders. Hyperlink takes you to the Lender Match page. Lender Match itself is a standalone platform where it has its kind of its own IT people and the people that oversee how you interact with the platform. I don't have any access to that. So this is an email address that you're going to want to keep should you have any problems in the platform and you have questions, okay? This is who you're going to end up reaching out to. Now, the way the platform works, we're going to go in depth about describing needs. There's a 48-hour window. You're going to spend time talking to the lenders. And yes, the more lenders you talk to, the more understanding you have of what your options are. And then I leave it up to you to kind of work with that lender if you decide that you're going to apply for the loan. Now, we're going to talk about the business plan. So, this is where Penn West Clarion kind of dovetails into this, because there are certain things that lenders are expecting you to provide in your business plan, and things that you can cut and paste and put into this if you choose to use the platform. But more importantly, know what you need to be able to speak fluently about when you're talking to your lender. It's the same thing about the amount of use in funds. And I'm going to explain this industry experience and how it's really understood by the lender and what they're expecting you to provide. So hyperlink is going to take you to this web page. And in order to actually get into the Lender Match platform, you have to click on the Find Lenders button here at the bottom. At any point, SBA has a tendency to update their web page. Okay, so it may not look like this. Sometimes they put pictures in and things. Just understand you'll understand the pathways to get there in this platform, but they will change things from time to time. But in all honesty, you guys are getting the most up-to-date version. I've sat with the developers on this and we've talked through quite a bit. So they've done more to safeguard your information now than maybe a previous version of Lender Match. But what they've done is at the very, very beginning here, and this is the beginning of putting information into the Lender Match platform that is actually going to carry through once you enroll in the My SBA Loan Portal. So what they're doing is they're asking preliminary questions up front. They want the name of your business. Now, I realize it's teeny tiny. SBA, when they have built this platform, they have used, exceptionally wide screens on this. So I'm trying to capture everything I can so that you're familiar with what you may see. There's a tiny red asterisk next to a few lines on here. anytime it's a red asterisk, it's required. It will not allow you to advance if you don't fill that information out. So you're going to give them the name of your business, your address, and you may see, and it doesn't show it here because this is a static screenshot. As you type your address in, it may turn around and give multiple addresses. The computer system's trying to pin down exactly where the location of your business is. All right. So in this case, in working with a developer, he was out of Alabama, and this is what he was doing as far as an example for me. So he filled out the name of the business, the address of the business, city, state, and zip code, and the county that the business is actually located in. Remember, this is capturing information for the lenders because remember, they're not all in Western Pennsylvania. All right. So some of them aren't familiar with, where Clarion, Pennsylvania is. Okay. If they're in California or Texas, wherever. The continue button actually activates and you can move forward. And we're going to go more in depth. So you're going to already know what you need to have prepared as you go to build this platform, just because you're going to have the slides and I'm going to talk you through the whole thing. But you're already going to know what your industry is. You're going to know how many years in business, right? Once you fill those two things out, remember red asterisks, the continue button turns red and it can move forward. You're going to talk about your funding needs, choosing what the funds are used for. We're going to talk more about these items right here once I get into the platform, and you're going to give it an estimated annual revenue. And you hit the continue button. And it miraculously says, congratulations, based on the information they found matches for you. Okay. This is just the beginning, okay, of that information that you've put in is now being carried forward because they want you to click the continue button. And now you're going into the My SBA portal. All right. In this case, you're putting in, and once again, we have asterisks, your information, not your business's information. And you're going to end up creating a username and a password in order to be in this platform. I've cheated and I've given you a hyperlink that takes you here already. Some of you may already be familiar with the My SBA portal because you have a PPP or an EIDL, or maybe you got a previous 7A or 504 loan and you're actually active in the portal because you have other loans. That's fine. You can cheat and go right here. Okay. For the rest of you that are just getting started, this is what it looks like when you fill something out. So the web developer gave me, typed a few things in. When he did this, he didn't do the correct number of characters. That's why it turned red. But he's entering a password and re-entering. The next step turns blue and red, and he moves on to the more information. So now you're giving your personal information, home phone number, email address, where your home address is, because you're building an account. As you complete all of those items that have the red asterisk, the next step turns red and you move forward again. It wants personal details about this. And this is where, if you already have an open loans with SBA or have had loans in the past, it's going to actually, if you click yes, it's going to link everything together as you build your account. The next step button turns red and you move forward again. This is an example. They have you build 3 security questions. This is an example of all the questions that are there. So you can choose, and what has to happen is you have to build 3 of them. Okay. And that completes your registration. Click on that button, it turns red. Then what they're doing is they're verifying you are who you are. So just as much as they're protecting you from, somebody getting your information, they're protecting the lenders as well to make sure that people aren't out there just building accounts. Okay. So you will have to check your email and verify. And then once you verify, you're going to sign into your My SBA account. Now, what we did is I wanted a screenshot so that you're familiar that this is who you're going to receive an email from when you're confirming your email address for the My SBA. See how it says cls.sba.gov, okay? That is the actual platform group, and see how they have the My SBA support button or phone number at the bottom? Those are the groups that actually are running this website. So for you to put your information in, okay? So when you get this email, you're going to end up clicking to confirm the email, or you can cut and paste that into the browser. All right. And then that's going to bring up the confirmation. And it looks like this. And your email address will show up here. The confirm button, you're just verifying who you are. You click that button. And now all of a sudden it's going to kick you into the My SBA loan portal. And the reason the star is here is because you've built your account and now you're ready to go in and activate that lender match and complete that information. So we click sign in. You're putting in your new username, your password, you're agreeing to the disclosures, and you're signing in. And now everything that you put in at the very, very beginning about your business is going to be carried through here, okay? But this is where I'm going to start the portion of the presentation that breaks down this platform. So when talking to the lenders, it's what they want. And then when we're thinking about working with Clarion Penn West, we're thinking that, okay, I need to start to get my information together because I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work on this business plan, and I'm going to have a conversation with my counselor, and I'm going to need to be able to, convey, in my business plan exactly what my business does and what I'm looking for funding. So once again, name of your business, okay, that carried through. But look at this one. There's a business website here. So I talked to the lenders about this website. Their comment was this: if you are currently using a website and it's functioning well, and it really does show your business, what it does, how you interact with customers, include it. It's one of the things that if you already have developed, a lender will look at that so that they can ask better questions when they're actually sitting down and talking to you. If you don't have it, you don't have to run out and do it, okay? Remember, there's no red star here. So if you're brand new to all of this, it's just an option for you down the road that when you get up and running, it may be something you want to consider entering. You're going to enter in the identification number. So if it's under your social security number or it's under an EIN number, that's what you're going to fill out. But they start to ask some questions here that are questions that are required to answer. So if you're involved in a bankruptcy or insolvency, red asterisk, you have no choice but to answer that. If your business is a franchise, you have no choice but to answer that. But more importantly, you have to describe what your business does. Now, what is highly recommended from lenders is your executive summary out of your business plan, or if you're in contracting, the capability statement, okay? Additionally, if you can include, the Small Business Development Center or the Women's Business Center that you worked with to help you get this business plan, our lenders are very, very familiar with our SBDCs, okay? They know who the people are. They know that if you're working with them, that they're expecting to have a very good conversation with you because you've done your homework and you've met with someone that's given you enough constructive feedback that you have a concrete way to have a conversation with a lender. Now, one thing I want to bring to your attention here, in teeny tiny little letters or numbers, and it's like this on the website, you only have 2,000 characters. So let's talk about this 2,000 characters, right? And this crazy box that we have here, it does not open up, okay? It just does so many lines and it continues to scroll. So with regard to the 2,000 characters, let's talk about a paragraph, right? So I went into Word and simple typing thing we can all relate to, a quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, over and over and over again, all right? So 2,000 characters, well, I got to 1,998, okay? It counts the punctuation mark, so the period after the word dog, and the space between the period and the A. And I got to 409 words. And I get it. I know we'd like to talk a lot about our businesses, and it's great that your executive summary is going to be thorough. But in this case, you need to pick the best 409 words that helps you talk about your business. So you know you have a word count limit. You can actually type all of your paragraph, answers into a Word document. You can spell check it. You can word count it. You can character count it. And you can cut and paste it in. Okay, and I'll show you how that works as we go through this. But so start to think about this. You're going to work on a business plan, right? And it's going to be comprehensive. Consider this maybe to be an elevator pitch, right? Your 409 words. Okay, so that's the first big section. Now, they got a little bit more detailed than what they previously had been when they were having businesses use lender match. They are now asking, and it's required, your number of employees, how many jobs you plan to retain by getting the money, how many jobs maybe you're going to create because you're going to get the money. And this starts the information on your business, right? And your information as well, your primary contact name, email, and since you already put the profile in, right? Because you built this account, you can actually just check this box and it'll pre-fill a lot of this for you. So now we're going to talk about the industry. Now, this crazy drop down here, actually, when you click on it, it actually fills the entire screen. So I had them open it up, and I've taken several screenshots to get the point across as to what choices you have for your business industry. Okay, so here are all the choices, in 2 lines. One major thing, if you choose other services, what the lenders, because we talked about all these choices and they're very familiar with what these industries are. But if you're going to choose other, they're expecting you in that very first paragraph to at least have a line or two about why you're choosing other and what that industry is and why it doesn't fit into these categories. Okay. I realize that would be a very small minority, but for those of you that may fall into that category, you do have a place to explain it, and the lender will ask if you choose other to further explain exactly what your industry is or why you're not falling into those categories. The other thing they wanted me to talk about is how long your business has been providing products or services in this industry. So if you're less than a year, okay, more than likely you haven't filed your taxes yet, okay? But as you've been in business for a year or 2 years, when you're starting to check higher numbers, the lender's already thinking you're going to have that financial tax history. Okay, so that's something else that you have to have prepared. But like I said, if you're startup and less than that, they understand that. They're not necessarily expecting as much in the way of financials, but projections will be required. So we've talked about the industry and we've talked about the products and services. Now here's the next big thing. You're going to talk about how much funding do you actually need. And once again, red asterisk, so it's going to be required. And how will you use these funds? In the past, and I've done another pop out here where I captured it all as a screenshot. And it has that other choice, if you're not choosing one of these categories for you to explain in the paragraph. But before, we used to be able to highlight multiple choices. They've removed that option. You can pick one. So when I've sat down and talked to the lenders, because I help them on their side of the match, right, to build their platform so that they can be matched with potential borrowers like yourselves. What they're expecting to see is what the majority of the money is for. So if really a majority of my money was going to be purchasing, some new equipment, then that's what I would choose. If it's a combination of things, it's still going to be the higher percentage. So maybe in one of the earlier screenshots, I'm going to expand my hiring of staff, but I'm also going to be purchasing equipment, but really a majority of my money is going towards this. I'm going to highlight that first, and then I will have more to explain in the paragraph. So let me switch slides here. So we're back to doing another one of those paragraphs. Remember, we've covered this, 2,000 characters, 409 words. So some things to think about. So let's say I'm going to be buying equipment, inventory. Do I have the quotes already ready? And that's why I'm basing my dollar amount. So if I'm able to say, let's just say that I'm purchasing an oven, and I know that I've gone out and there are actually 3 models that I like, and I have those quotes for what it may cost. I'm able to talk about it in that paragraph a little bit more, and definitely mention that you have 3 quotes with dollar amounts ranging from, $25,000 to $35,000. All of a sudden, that lender is keying in on the fact that you've done your homework. It's the same thing as if you're choosing to refinance some business debt. Can you explain to them that, hey, I actually do have my credit card history of all of my monthly statements for the last 2 years, and I can talk through them? Once again, you're articulating to that lender that you're at a level of being able to explain exactly what you're asking the money, them to provide money for. With the possible funding requirements, if these 3 boxes right here, it's not required. I have a written business plan, financial projections, I'm generating revenue. If you check these boxes, they will ask for it. So if you're brand new and you don't have a business plan and you haven't even signed up with Clarion yet, and you check it, that's going to be one of the first things they're going to ask you for. So all of these things, if you're going to check them, expect to have to provide that information to that lender. All right. So when we look at this, the only thing they do ask for annual revenue, okay, and it's estimated, but veteran status, that once again, they will not allow this next to go to the next summary unless you answer it. And you can, if you're not a veteran, you're not disclosed, or non-veteran, you have to make a choice there. This takes you to your final summary of everything that you've input. Now, once again, you can see that the developer, he did a little bit of information here, but your paragraph will be longer, okay? And you can go back by, ask about your business. If you see, like, maybe you wrote your paragraph and 3 of the words at the end got cut off. This is where you can actually go back and make the changes. You click on the, about your business, it takes you back to that paragraph, and you can fix any of your errors. But definitely verify that everything is in here that you actually did type in, and you're not missing anything. You have to attest to it and then hit the submit button. So it's going to show you, because you're in the platform, that the request was submitted. And because you're in your account, it's going to say, hey, look, it's in the process of being reviewed. So from the time that you hit that button, and it's right now, okay, after you put everything in, is when that time frame is going to start, okay? Now, previously, I played with this functionality, and actually when I built my SBA portal and entered into Lender Match, then it kind of started that 48 hours. But they've changed it now in this platform that once you hit submit, the banks now have 48 hours to respond. So understand the couple time frames here. If you're doing it on a Friday night, that doesn't mean by Monday morning that you're going to be matched, okay? Anytime you do anything over a weekend, or for that matter, a holiday, it will extend the time. And it's actually going to tell you in this platform, about how many days it may be. So if, you have a holiday on a Friday or on a Monday, it may tell you that you'll be matched in 5 days, because they realize that lenders are not looking at this Saturday, Sunday, or a federal holiday Monday, and it actually will be sent to them on the Tuesday morning. And it does say, it's going to be looking at that request. And this is the newer thing that's actually been showing up, and the banks are having to spend a little bit more time. Before, it used to give just someone's name and the name of the bank. I encourage you to really read the paragraphs and to look at all of the entries, okay? Not just, and they don't do it, it's not in alphabetical order, it's in random order. Like I said, there's over 800 lenders in here, and they're not all in Western Pennsylvania, okay? Now, sometimes what's happened is the name here, a bank can designate one person to get all the matches. So if I'm the bank, I get all the matches. But let's say Cindy is my lender that's in Clarion and your business is in Clarion. I'm not going to call you. Cindy's going to call you. And you might be like, hey, somebody named Cindy called me, because you're calling me saying your name, you didn't call me. I can verify that Cindy does work for us. And we understand that there is some concern, when banks are reaching out and calling people. But understand, just like in our resource guide, everybody has a home office. And sometimes that person that is running this lender match, and they're delegating the actual potential borrowers out to the lenders that are within that territory. So I'm coming to a close here, and this is just one thing that I want you to think about, because we've talked about lenders and sometimes they have state money. When you're thinking about doing anything in business, you're smarter to look at all of your financial resources. That includes within your own county. That includes looking at something like this, where there are opportunities for you on a energy side of things to make improvements to your businesses. If you're going to decide, like we talked a little bit about, I had a gentleman call me about an HVAC system. So those types of things, I just want you to consider thinking about, because some of that money may be available to you, and that may not necessarily have to be part of your loan funds. So in summary, we've kind of gone over the different types of loans, okay? And remember, none of the loans are direct loans from the SBA. You're either going to be working with a bank, or you're going to be working with a certified development company, or you're going to be working with an intermediary. We talked a little bit about this lender match platform, okay? And the thing about the lender match platform is you don't have to use it. You can use this as a tool to understand what you need to have prepared, because you may be going to the bank down the street because you already want a relationship in your community. And a lot of our banks that do lending, including our certified development companies and our intermediaries, they are very customer forward. They are interested in meeting with you face to face. And when you think about this, even if you're looking at a small dollar amount and you're looking to work with an intermediary where you can borrow $50,000 and under, think about this. You're already working with Penn Clarion in trying to develop that and get that education. Even an intermediary starting at a very small dollar amount, you're now going to be getting technical services, whether it be QuickBooks or maybe help with your marketing, that isn't going to cost you anything. Okay, so it's another way for you to save money. So in summary, I'm going to end up stopping sharing here and turn it back over to Cindy. And I just want to say I really appreciate everybody's time today. And whatever questions Cindy we need to answer, or maybe I overwhelmed everybody and they know it all now,
Well, thanks, Lynn. That was so awesome. A lot of great information. We do have, I guess I'd like to invite everyone to post their question. We have a few in Q&A. You can use the Q&A icon, or you can also post it in the chat. But we do have two questions for you. Brian is asking, do the owners need to pledge personal assets as collateral for these? And that would have come earlier in the presentation. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, right around the microloan information.
Right. So normally we'll talk something simple. If you're looking to say you're going to get a microloan and you're looking for a piece of equipment, for $15,000. Normally those microloan lenders, and usually most lenders, they're going to turn around and take that as collateral to start with. it's as you're starting to get larger dollar amounts and you're looking at real estate that other things may need to be pledged, and that's negotiable based on each individual lender. That's why the more lenders you talk to, the more you understand exactly what may be required. So, but it's a very custom thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's every case, it's case by case basis, of course.
Mhm.
And I'll just say that putting together a solid proposal with a plan or some type of financial proposal with projections helps to strengthen your project too.
I totally agree with Cindy. And that's why when customers seem to work with the SBDCs, all those things, like those 6 things on that slide where your palms are sweating and your mouth is running dry, all of a sudden now you've been working with someone that you've been talking about this. And so not only are you good at your business, but now you're starting to be able to talk more about those financials. And all of a sudden you're just a more well-rounded business owner that way.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. So the second question, and again, we do have some coming up. The next question is from Felicia is, does an individual qualify for the microloan program if they have defaulted on an EIDL loan?
Normally an EIDL, so the economic injury disaster loan, you would need to, I don't have any jurisdiction over EIDL. It's its own service center. So you would have to work with that service center and do something amiable to that division of SBA, because they oversee that loan. That's the only direct loan from SBA, in order to be able to overcome. Because if you've defaulted on any type of government loan, and it could be something in another agency, they won't allow you to get an SBA loan. So for EIDL, I'd work with your service center, do what you can to fix that. And at that point, if you can fix it, it's still going to show up on a lien search anytime any lender goes and pulls up your information. And they all do lien searches, so they will know that you've got that loan.
Okay, Lynn, the next question is there an SBA loan available for acquiring another business of the same business segment?
Right. So, the lender that you currently, or, the bank that you currently bank with, right? And you're looking that you're going to acquire another business. You may want to start with that lender. You don't have to do the whole lender match thing. If you already work with that bank and you have a good relationship and you're successful in your industry, but are looking for an expansion, those are the things they're going to be looking for: some information about the business that you're going to acquire and the history of your own business, to make sure that if you do expand, are you still able? Remember, a lot of these things has to be paid from the positive cash flow of the business. So even in an expansion, you're going to have to be able to show that you can repay that loan. But I would start with your own lender, since they already kind of know you. And the other one that you could possibly do is, if that other business that you're going to acquire, talk to the bank that they bank with, because they have a history with them. So it may be something worthwhile to explore those 2 different banks and see which one may work better for you.
Okay, Lynn. I hope that I have summarized this question, but Giddy is wanting to know how hard it would be for a media organization, I think, to get funding. And it looks like they wanted just a small amount of money. And so I guess hopefully this is where they're going with this. Like, what would be a minimum loan amount that that would be appropriate for a loan request to a bank?
So think of it this way. The microloan lenders are at that $50,000 and under, because there are a lot of banks they're not interested in lending that small dollar amount. So as with anything, if you can start with an intermediary, okay, for a microloan, if it's less than $50,000, then start there, and talk to them, especially if you have more than one in your area. So like, in Clarion County, you have two. You can talk to both Bridgeway Capital and you can talk to Pursuit and see what may work better for you. And that doesn't mean that just because you want $51,000 that you can't talk to your local bank that you bank with. I'd always start there. Remember, that's where you have your relationship. So before you even go on to Lender Match. And then Lender Match does open you up to other lenders nationwide that may consider lending at lower dollar amounts than maybe your local lender, around the corner. So it's kind of the more people you talk to, the more you know what your options are.
Can you give me an idea of what the typical rates are on your SBA loans? So they don't specifically say which one specifically.
Right. So let's just talk something simple. Okay. So we all know that prime is about it's like 8.5%. Okay. And everything is based off of prime. So consider it this way. The more money you borrow, the additional percentage gets lower. So if you went to a bank and they were going to give you an SBA loan at $50,000 or less, okay, it's the base rate, so that 8.5%, plus they can add up to 6.5% on top of that, okay. But as I go higher in dollar amounts, so if I'm over the $250,000 range, and it runs in $100,000 increments. Now the additional base, right? The base, the 8.5% would now only be plus 4.5% would be the maximum. But there are always going to be, those fees in addition to your typical prime percentage rate. And then for 504, if you were talking real estate and you were going to work with the certified development companies, right now it changes on the 1st of every month, and today's May 1st. So I don't have May rates, but I have April was at about 6.7% on real estate. If you're looking to a building that's already there that you're going to occupy 51% or more at 6.7%, if it's your new construction and you're occupying 60% or more, that's at that same rate as well.
Okay, so I think I'm going to probably address some of these. Kristen wanted to know, should I use my LLC name on the bank documents or my doing business as, or doesn't it matter? And I do believe you would this would be a bank question, but based on my knowledge or history, it would be your legal name. So it would be your LLC.
I agree with you.
And then we had another question that related to time, let me see, history. So we have someone who was in business, or I used to be in real estate and have loans with the SBA, but they are being paid in time and in full. I just created an LLC, but my question is, do those loans give me a longer history than just having a new LLC? So I'm assuming that they're looking at the new LLC is looking to borrow money, and that new LLC doesn't have history. And so how does that relate to having other businesses, kind of the relationship of multiple businesses with the assumption that they're all owned by the same person? And I know that assumption may not be 100% accurate.
Right. So let's just say, we have the one business is in a certain NAICS code, and then this new business is in a completely different NAICS code. That's the difference. They won't look at, if I had a history of being in business as a bookshop, right? And that's in a certain NAICS code, but now I'm going to start a brand new business that is a cupcake shop. The thing is that the lender is looking for what is your, how long are you providing that? So what is my experience in running a cupcake shop if haven't really been a baker before? And that's what the lenders are going to start to look for. So if it's in the same NAICS code, like somebody asked the question about expansion, they're expanding their business by acquiring the same type of business, then they're going to show the history of the business that they're acquiring and their own business, because they're in the same NAICS code. In this case, for that cupcake shop, you'd almost be starting as a brand new business, and because you won't have any financial history. They may allow you, if that business is up and running, to utilize, and it depends on whether the seller is interested in, of course, you're starting this new business, you're not buying it, but what is your experience? And that's where you may have to spend a little bit more time with the SBDC, because you're developing a completely new business plan based on a new industry. And maybe that's not a bad thing. You can still use your old experience of your other business, right? But when we're talking about cupcakes versus selling a book, you're doing some different things. It's different inventory, different records you'd be keeping, different certifications, especially like in the food industry. So does that help? Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest thing to remember is that when you put together a loan application, you do have to provide kind of the background of you, your resume, your personal financial statement, your tax returns. And part of your story is your background, which would be represented on your resume. And so your strength of being a business owner, or any kind of background that relates in any way to the business that you're looking to start or purchase makes a huge difference. So it's part of your story, and it's important to tell. And so I know, that kind of focusing on credit, yes, that's important. But the rest of the story is important too. Do startup businesses qualify for microloans as a newly incorporated business that have not opened their doors yet?
Yeah, and that's a huge strength of the microloan program, is that you can be working with Cindy's group and developing things and taking classes and learning about your business. And that's where all of a sudden you've got an intermediary, that microloan lender that's in your corner as well, helping you move across that finish line. And they're providing that training before, so they're working with you before you even apply for the loan. They're helping you get things in order as you're applying. And then even afterwards, they're there to help you with the marketing. Hey, you need some more in QuickBooks. That's what they're there for. So if you have the opportunity to take advantage of both, Penn West and an intermediary, all you're doing is, both for yourself and anybody that may be participating from your business in these learning classes, is just strengthening your overall, business, because of the fact that you are so open to getting and receiving the guidance and then following it and seeing through, what you've started.
So I have someone who needs to get in contact with the Small Business Development Center. So I'll just jump in with a commercial for us. And that is, if you're looking at connecting with an SBDC across Pennsylvania, just go to pasbdc.org. I will be following up this with that information. However, that takes you to the Pennsylvania SBDC website. You can hit request, and then it drops down and helps you to see which SBDC covers you by county. So easy to find. And then we have a question from Alonzo in regards to explaining what you mean by match. So could you explain what you mean by matching? Is that matching monies I already have?
Okay, so in reference to lender match, in using the platform, it's, I hate to equate it to a dating app, but it is. The lenders put in their information on their side. What industry do they want to lend to? How much do they want to lend? What do they want to lend for? And you on your side are putting in your needs. You're talking about your business, how much money you need, what you need the money for. And if those two things, connect, right? You're in the same group. That's where you're being given that list of banks that's interested in talking to you. And they're only going to talk to you if you click the button and agree, like, hey, I want to talk to this bank more. That's when they're going to get your information. So on that match sense, that's how the platform works. As with anything, SBA, anytime you're getting a loan, you still have to have some working capital, right? Because you have to have something involved in this project as well. Nobody pays for everything 100%, whether it's a grant or whether it's a loan. So you do have to show, and that's why working with Clarion on your financials, you're understanding exactly what can you call, the money that you have in the bank as your portion of, your quote skin in the game on this. And so that's really important as well. Understand that banks and lenders want to work with you, but you also have to be in a position where you're positively going to be able to pay things back out of the income from the business. And some of that requires you to have some money, saved up as well and ready to go to help on the project.
Yeah. And yeah, skin in the game is critically important. The way I always say it is you've got to put some money in, but you still have to have money left over for when things don't go the way that you expect them to go. I have a specific question in regards to SBA 7A lenders. So the question is, are there ways to filter for lenders that hold their paper or service their loans and not sell them on the secondary market?
Well, that's an interesting point that someone just brings up, because what we're finding and what I'm working with our local lenders are, they are actually putting information like that. Remember, I showed you that little block where they have their, their little logo and their name, and then they have a paragraph that they can write. That's the interesting thing. You're going to see, if you get matched with local lenders within our area, like our 27 counties. And like I said, I'll go back and I will pull the old PDF. I know the first one, this one I sent to Cindy of our resource guide is too large to send, but the old one we could send. And if you look at those banks, usually those smaller banks that are in our area, they do work on and service their own loans. So where, once again, if you open yourself up to lender match and choose to go out and work with our 800 plus lenders, there are going to be other ones out there that they don't keep those loans. So maybe even just taking a look at that book and realizing who is in our district as far as local lenders are, maybe you kind of use lender matches, understanding what you have to get prepared as you work with Cindy to get that business plan written and your financials done. But maybe you turn around and you can even, call those home offices and start to set up talking to lenders once you and Cindy's group feel as though you're ready to do that. So think about it as a couple different strategies here. You can play it a couple different ways and still get some feedback. But yeah, usually our local lenders and our smaller banks hang on to those loans.
Great. Lynn, how long has the lender match program existed?
It's been around for a long time, and it was they called it something else, 10, 15 years ago. This platform update walks hand in hand with those borrowers that had PPP and EIDL loans, so that those people could go in and address those loans. This lender match, because you're in that My SBA portal, the My SBA portal was developed, and they've integrated lender match now into that more secured side, rather than just you putting in your name, your email address, and a zip code. That's how the lenders, back in December, that's how they were still identifying. Now they're really honing in on you as a business and you putting in your information on your business location, because just as much as we worry, on your side to make sure that your information is secure, people will use the platform sometimes to, not necessarily be polite to lenders, so we have it both sides. And now they've really dovetailed it so that, lenders are really working with the small businesses that are looking for the money, not just people out there in the platform.
Okay, Lynn, another question is, what happens to a loan if the business closes?
Okay, so once again, these loans are not SBA loans. When you get a loan from a lender, it's their loan. So you have to work through with them on what's going to happen. And usually, it's one of those things that open communication between you and your lender needs to be happening, before it gets into that, I think I'm going to close, because there may be some other solutions. It's the same thing with meeting with Cindy's group. There may be something that you're working and you're like, look, I think that I have a problem. Why not work with Clarion and say, look, can you help me identify? And maybe there are other things that you can do prior to even coming to that end. But regardless, you still have to work with the lender in order to be able to work on that loan and do whatever needs to happen on the servicing side of it once it's been given out.
Right. I mean, the loan is your loan. So whether the business is in operation or not, it's still your responsibility. Okay, so I guess this next question is, I'm a business owner and looking to connect with local lenders who service their loans. And I'll just throw in, typically, the Small Business Development Center understands what their local lenders do. And so I would address that question with a couple different ideas, but certainly that, I can't direct you to one particular institution, but I would have a little bit of that local knowledge to kind of educate you a little bit. And certainly you can kind of ask that question directly. Lynn, do you have thoughts to that as well?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it's, whether you look in that resource guide and reach out to those lenders, they're going to tell you up front how they're going to, if they're going to service their loans, okay, or if they sell them. If they service them, then, and that's one of your selling points, then that's great. You have more conversations. But until you start to talk to each of the individual lenders, they're all originals. They don't all do the same thing. And some of the banks are, like I said, in your communities, they want to be part of the community. They know you guys as small businesses, and they want to support those businesses. So, like I said, Cindy, I will get you the old copy of it, and that can at least go out so you can kind of take a look. And remember, when you look at that resource guide, just because a bank is listed under a county doesn't mean that's the only county that they lend in. It's just the location of their home office.
The next one asks, does the SBA connect with grant providers? And so go ahead. I can give you my standard response to that, but you can feel free to comment.
Grant side of things, you can look in your local counties. You can look at a state level. You can look at industry, even like Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. They have a huge grant going out right now for both equipment for the agricultural community, on a small level, and for larger, like even canning facilities. So SBA doesn't do any grant work. Right now we're loans, but that's where I think, maybe Cindy has a little bit more of her finger on the pulse of DCED and what they may be doing on the grant side in the state. And I'll defer to her a little bit more since I don't have much.
Well, really, when it comes to grants, and we address this probably almost every day, is grants are few and far between. There are not grants really to get started. Our program is a grant-funded program providing assistance to individuals looking to start a business. And so in a roundabout way, we are funding for you to get started. And the other thing is there are grant programs out there, but they're usually targeted to niche either industries, opportunities, or specific projects. And so get to know, again, connect with the Small Business Development Center. We're familiar with the various programs that are out and about that are available to you. And so we can take a look at what you're looking to do, get to know you a little bit, and then kind of see where you can plug in. That's the nice thing about working with your local SBDC, because they are familiar with what's going on that local level. And yes, I mean, there are some programs through DCD, through the Department of Community, through the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. But again, many of those are focused on existing businesses. And then again, you have to fit kind of the demographic or the industry that they're specifically targeting. Okay. Well, that's all the questions, Lynn. I appreciate your time. Thank you to those who hung in there, stuck with us, and pose some questions. I think questions really kind of bring the information kind of a little bit more clearly to everyone. So I appreciate that. I'll be following up today with an evaluation survey that'll go out shortly. And just thank you everyone for being here, and happy National Small Business Week. And we'll continue to celebrate that as the week goes on. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, everyone.